Good evening. I would like to bring to order the the April 2nd meeting of Sandwich Conservation Commission. My name is James Andrea. Present tonight are
Erin Turkelson,
Jeremy Shea,
Jonathan Klein,
Bernice Waller,
Linda Romano.
I would like to appoint Linda Romano as a full voting member.
second.
Thank you.
Please note this meeting is being recorded live and streaming on Sandwich Community Television. Broadcast can be viewed by visiting the sandwichcommunitytv.org on Government Live Stream, or you can view later on Government On Demand. You can also view on local Comcast Channel 9. I would like to remind everyone of our meeting format. For all hearings, the applicant will be allowed adequate time to present their project to the Commission. Upon completion of the presentation, the Commission will be allowed to question the applicant, ensue Commission discussion, and ask staff for comment and input. Upon completion of the Commission's discussion, I will read, summarize for any record, any public comment received by the staff prior to meeting. I will announce public comment to the audience where any interested parties are to raise their hands. I will ask you to come up front, speak clearly and directly into the microphone above you, stating your name, address, and affiliation for the record. 3 minutes will be allowed. All speakers are to address the Commission, not applicants or audience members. When your 3 minutes are up, I will ask you to take a seat. A reminder to all, public comment is not a Q&A forum. Upon closure of public comment, the applicant may add additional information, comment to the commissioners. The commissioners will deliberate along with the staff. Finally, I want to remind everyone that this commission is comprised of your neighbors, volunteering our valuable time to help protect our town's natural resources to the best of our abilities. Our job is to uphold the provisions set forth by the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, as well as the Town of Sandwich Wetland Bylaws, Chapter 7. We appreciate your understanding. All right, I would like to open new filings for DEP file number SC66-2047, Sebastian Gonzalez, care of Marsh Mathers Environmental, filed notice of intent for proposed renovation of an existing single-family dwelling at 34 Saltmarsh Road, East Sandwich, Mass., located at map 77, parcel 22.
All right, good evening, everybody, Commissioner and Commission members. Mike Ball, representing the applicant Sebastian Gonzalez and his wife, the relatively new owners of 34 Saltmarsh Road. As part of their property purchase, they planned and have planned and now proposing some renovations to that existing cottage. It's a pretty small structure. They aren't proposing any increase in the footprint of the structure. They're just doing renovations to interior spaces primarily. They are changing the location of the entrance to the building, what the plan indicates as a vestibule. There is a small intrusion on an abutting property that the surveyor identified, and so they need to cut back the size of a deck on the east side of the house. They are planning, as with a lot of these cottage projects, renovation projects, new exterior, roof, siding. I believe the deck boards on the ocean side are going to be replaced, but like I said, again, no increase in structure. As with all these cottages and houses on that stretch of road, the entire landform is a coastal dune, also part of the barrier beach. The rare species limit line, the natural heritage line, is actually just about reaching the edge of the existing oceanside deck, but no work will be done on the inside that habitat, so there was no filing coincident with the NOI to you guys. I think that's pretty much it. I could go through the performance standards for Dune, but maybe we can discuss those if you feel it's necessary. I'm just gonna check my cover letter here. Door replacement. Replacing the rent station, that definitely needs to be done. Dune Beach. Land subject to coastal storm flow, so the entire dune is also within the flood zone. So that was the other resource area. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'd like to open up to the staff for comment.
So my main concern, what you just discussed with proposing the change in the deck. So I did a site visit, and it looks like the portion of the house that faces the road is raised, but the dune on the ocean side of the house is kind of engulfing the deck in the back side of the house there. per sandwich regulation under the bylaw, any proposed alteration to non-conforming, so the deck as it sits right now is non-conforming, would have to be raised 24 inches. So if you're proposing to replace any portion of that deck, including the boards, the deck would then have to be raised, which might run into an issue with your back door and the way that layout looks. So, because the front of the house near the road is raised pretty well from what I can tell. I saw the skirting out there.
Yeah.
Then the back is kind of engulfed a little bit. And I didn't read any proposal to to change any foundation work or anything and work on the pilings. So, I mean, it was conforming at one point, and then sand does what it does and kind of engulfed the deck there. So, I mean, you can probably get away with, I saw on the newer house rendition, the railings and things like that, and some stairs, that I think could be okay. But if you're replacing those deck boards, then the deck would wind up having to be raised 24 inches.
So if they took the deck board replacement out.
Yeah, if they just want to paint the deck or something like that, that might be
Okay.
acceptable. But any like construction work to the non-conforming structure would trigger
Okay,
that being raised.
so non-conform because it's on grade currently.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And if you need, I can send you the regulation if you want the
Yeah, that'll be
specific
helpful.
wordage.
That'll be helpful.
Sure. And then I saw on the architecturals, you had a 30% habitable space increase, which is well below what our policy is. I understand you're just kind of going up mostly from what it looks like. And then ensuring all of the renovation materials that you're going to be using for the project don't, blow off site
Yeah.
into an HESP habitat or anything like that, because you are close to the line and there are birds out there. So
We have just entered that season, haven't we?
yes, we have.
Good, Jenny.
That's all I've got. Yes. Thank you.
I'd like to open up to public comment. Closing public comment, open up to the board. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
They might be silly questions, and I'm new here, so bear with me. Do you have any concerns about runoff? Because I see you've added a roof with a pitch, and then you have another roof in the front. Do you have any worries about runoff and how that might affect the driveway? And is there going to be a dry well, or is that not necessary? And my other question was just about the vegetation that's going to be gone once you move the stairs over. Is that going to be replaced like where the old stairs were?
Regarding the foundation plantings, I'm looking at the pictures now, and I admit I don't know what those plantings are. I think they're bayberry.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it would be certainly reasonable to just replace the bayberry. I think the bayberries that's displaced can just be
Moved somewhere.
could be moved over or put new plantings in. So that's something that we could address since we're coming back. So I can make a note of that. I think that's a pretty simple thing. Regarding runoff, I know they've got some downspouts. I don't believe they are currently
Yeah, I didn't see
with any dry wells. I typically don't have concerns. I'm not an engineer, but particularly on dunes I'm not really concerned about flow, say, down the driveway into the Saltmarsh. I think the existing roof is pitched kind of funky, in a funky way, and what they're proposing is kind of
They got
interesting.
that new one off to the side that's going to send it this way, that's
Yeah.
a new thing. So I was just wondering if that's.
I think what would be reasonable is just to include off all downspouts, just make sure all that stormwater is captured. I think that's a pretty simple solution to that.
I had just a question, and I'm unsure if this was approved initially under separate rigs or older rigs, because it's awfully close on the back to the lot.
I'm not sure when the original house was built. If it was pre-1972, then they wouldn't have had to have conservation.
1963.
Okay, yeah, so then they would have, so the Wetlands Protection Act, I believe, is 1972. So they would have been
So
accepted.
that's why it's so close.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
How do we feel about the shell driveway
would that be allowed as a driveway surface if it weren't existing?
I believe so. From what I remember of previous policies, as long as it's not a concrete driveway, I think it has to be the 3/4 inch round washed native stone or
Or it can be
shell.
shell.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think the shell's okay.
In general, Mike, I like the ethos of this project. I like the scale. I think the scale of the house is appropriate. I like the fact that you're not bringing forth a 3-story building that's up on pilings that's going to shade the dune. I think that this is just a really refreshing project to see in terms of the, staying equal to the use of the existing house, like keeping that compatible, and the occupancy compatible. So I really like this project.
I
They did a great job.
I think so too. The design's kind of interesting, and admittedly, originally, there was more to be proposed. And I kind of, as a consultant, you're often educating sometimes the contractor and the designer, and the whole thing about making sure that the total cost of the reconstruction is less than 50% of the assessed value of the structure is important, because if they exceeded that, which originally they did, they would then have to have a flood zone compliant foundation, which would mean everything goes up.
Yep.
There are benefits to going up for sure. Would have solved the deck problem, but I think they weren't prepared to kind of enter into such a large project. So they just said, well, let's just keep it the way it is, not increase the footprint, do some really interesting design things. And I agree. I think it's kind of it's suitable to the neighborhood. But without going on any further, I do know what you mean. There are a lot of proposals that come before you that are just really big.
Do you have to, side note, do you have to go through zoning because of that nonconformity in the deck for everything?
That's something I've kind of asked the Sea Salt Homes to look into. The attorney. I typically, I really wish I knew more of the zoning bylaw regulations, and I don't. So I'm not sure how to answer that.
And any approvals that we give projects are pending other.
Oh, yeah, this is first. Yeah, they need this before. Okay. All right, so we still gotta, we'll continue to another day and get the downspout questions answered, and then the issue with the deck, and the construction happen on that, and how you guys gonna come up 24, if you're gonna replace everything or not touch it, right?
I'll ask that question. I just can't answer that now.
And then were you able to answer her question about, Owen's question about the plants?
I think I'll go out there, I'll just make sure what's being disturbed, and I can just have more with an associates, it's a small amount, but it's, you should replace stuff that you remove from the dune, so I'll just, whatever we submit, we'll address that.
Does the 16th work?
Yeah, why don't we stick with that, and if I can't get them to revise the plan, then we can just continue.
I'd like to make a motion to continue DEP file number SC66-2047, Sebastian Gonzalez, care of Marsh Matters Environmental, the notice of intent for proposed renovation of an existing single-family dwelling at 34 Saltmarsh Road, East Sandwich, Mass. Map 77, parcel 22, to the April 16th meeting. Second. All in favor?
All right, thank you all very much.
I'd like to open new filings. DEP file number SC66-2048. Eileen O'Connor, care of A.M. Wilson Associates, has filed a notice of intent for proposed in-ground pool at 34 Lodgeview Circle, Sandwich, Mass, located at map 70, parcel 151.
Good evening. Arlene Wilson, A.M. Wilson Associates, here for Eileen O'Connor. I'll start by promising that even though this is a pool, this owner does not have a bull master. That may not mean anything to Jenna, but certainly does to Bernice and whoever went out to visit my last pool project. This site is about 1/2 acre. It was originally developed in 1979, and the O'Connors bought it in 2012. Resource areas at the site are salt and brackish marshes at the edge of the property line, land subject to coastal storm flooding. It's an AE zone up to elevation 14. There is a coastal bank here. It does not come up as high as the limit of the 100-year flood. There's no rare habitat. There's no coastal wetland restriction on this property, although there is on the Saltmarsh as you get closer to Cows Creek. And we're just outside the riverfront, although we are up to elevation 14 in the Sandy Neck ACEC. So the construction proposed is a small in-ground pool. It's got a somewhat irregular shape to try and take advantage of the area that's close to the house and keep it as far away from the top of the bank as we can, even though the area that's available for construction here is quite tight. The pool decks are very narrow. They're going to use the existing flagstone patio as the sitting area for the deck. So they're not going to need a lot of new hardscape. The pool fence is going to be right at the edge of the new pool deck so that it doesn't hamper wildlife to any significant extent. There's some minor grading on the north side to hide what would otherwise be the exposed pool foundation. Pool mechanicals are located to the east of the pool, where they're going to be hidden on both sides from the existing house on the site by a big band of hydrangeas and a few trees, and from the neighbors by an area of scrub that still exists there. The bacteria treatment for the pool is an omni-salt system, so there's no chlorine. And the pool contractor promises me that all of the standard pool conditions that the commission puts in their orders are fine with him, that all of the mechanicals meet those regulations. We are proposing 892 square feet of woody native shrubs along what is the BVW edge at the Saltmarsh, and above that a little bit where there's a small area where there's some native vegetation instead of lawn at the BVW edge. That's to compensate for 871 square feet of new hardscape. The closest the pool deck gets to the top of the bank is about 12 feet in the northwest corner. And in the northeast corner, there's a single tree that's going to have to be removed. And I'd be happy to answer questions that the commission might have.
I'd like to open up this staff for comment.
So I did a site visit, spoke with you about this project prior to proposal, pre-planned type meetings. The parcel is, or where the proposed work is going to take place is all lawn currently. Short of putting the pool in the front yard, there is no real further area away from the marsh. Kind of makes sense for the patio layout and everything they've got going on over there. I was okay with the mitigation as proposed, and can appreciate that as a small scale pool. Everything was staked out when I went by, so you could kind of see, the layout. I didn't have any issues that had come up. There were data sheets submitted. Typically, an Appendix G form is used for a bordering vegetated wetland, not a salt marsh, but it works in this case. We had plenty of data that would allow us to certify that wetland line, and it was easily visible from the lawn area. So I'm pretty good with this one.
I'd like to open it up to public comment. All right, closing public comment, open it up to the board.
I do.
Absolutely.
what are the trees, what kind of trees are they that are being taken out?
It's a pitch pine.
Okay. Is
And
there any consideration of replacing them with trees just elsewhere?
I beg your pardon?
Could they be replaced in kind somewhere else on the property, the trees?
Yes, if the commission would like us to plant another one, I would prefer that it be something besides pitch pine.
Cedar probably
Can-
would be a good idea.
Is it two or just one?
One.
Okay, because it says two trees on the plan, it's just one?
I-
Well, there's a,
It points to two.
yeah, it does say
Yeah,
trees,
it's
so
the-
it's just
The
one.
one in the very corner, the pool contractor says he can work around the other one.
okay.
And I did see those trees on the site visit. There's one that is very close and kind of overhanging the whole
Yeah.
area.
Kind of going on that with the trees, the thought about the trees. Whenever you pull utilities, wherever you place those, there's just like a gang of pipes that usually go to there, and I just don't see how you're not gonna disturb
The other
those
tree.
two trees around those, around your utilities to really do that. I'm just wondering.
I
have you
agree
talked
with you,
to him
it looks
about that?
very tight to me.
Yeah.
You know, all I can say is that if you see your way clear to give us an allowance to take that second tree down, if he needs to, we'll plant a second tree to
Well,
remove.
I'm talking about really around the pool mechanics, like the pool area, that area, there are pipes that are gonna go towards your pool. I think the reality is that you're gonna be going through either vegetation or tree roots to make that happen. And so what are those trees right now? What are those two trees that are right there by the proposed pool mechanics?
I think I've got some pictures, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. Most of the stuff that's growing in the upland area there are either pitch pine or white oak.
Fine. Yeah, I just wanted to just give you the opportunity to take that back to the contractor if you need to be realistic about that, because if you put all those pipes through pitch pine roots, you're going to have a pine beetle there in 2 minutes, and then your entire pitch pine is going to be, forest is going to be gone. So I think maybe we should, I don't know how we would condition that or speak to that.
We could do, if, right away, we could condition it at if they decide to run the mechanics beside it, destroy the roots, and it dies, we still have the opportunity to check up on the plants after, to issue a COC. So if it's dead, they would have to replace it. So we could just kind of, what would you like the pitch pine that they have to remove in the north?
I think what I see is lacking here is like this plan is not telling the entire story of the site disturbance, right? You have the pool utilities, and then you have the pool, and we all know that there's some stuff going on underground that's not being spoken to right now. If it were a civil plan that was bringing a new water feed in, we'd want to see that water feed. We'd want to see the electric feeds. We're not really seeing how the utilities are going to be fed.
The utilities are coming out of the house, Bernice, so that
To the
they're
pool
gonna-
mechanics.
Yeah,
We're just not seeing how those are routed to know how that affects the vegetation, I think is what's going on. And so to me, it's clear that there will be some impact to the health of that buffer of planting and or rhododendrons, potentially, unless you show me a plan that shows how you're not going to be getting into those tree roots and those shrubs. And it's really just a matter of like putting that fact out there and then saying, okay, we need to remove this tree and therefore we're going to replace it with this, instead of doing it after the fact and,
Right.
oops, we killed the tree and all that other stuff.
the lines for the utilities that connect from the pool to the mechanicals are very flexible. And what the contractor has told me is that he can make that trench for the utilities, which is reasonably shallow in any event, run around the tree roots. I don't think anybody cares much if they damage some of the roots of the hydrangeas. They're easily replaceable. They're I won't say they're foundation shrubs, but they're marginally native. They're a relative of a native plant.
So instead of rhododendrons around the pool utilities, those are hydrangeas? Is that what you're saying?
And the ro-
Well, part of the scope, they were gonna, for around the pool mechanics, they were gonna place hydrangeas, right?
yeah,
As a,
Oh, you're
Yeah.
replacing
Yeah.
hydrangeas, okay.
we would cause I agree with you. What if like, cause I'm also just seeing like site access is off the driveway over the existing leach field, am I correct, to the right side of the home?
with some construction pads.
Yeah, well, and then
Yes.
like that lawn would be
Right.
like, so what are they proposing for that, a replacement with sod?
The- Any of the foundation plantings that get damaged will be replaced in kind, probably.
Well, and same with the lawn, like in, Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they make divots in the lawn, they'll even it out and
oh
replant.
yeah, they're gonna make a lot more than divots,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Bernice, I'm gonna lean on you for this, like what, if they take a tree out, what tree rather than a pitch pine? would-
Cedar.
Cedar would like.
I think you just need to be honest and say you're gonna
Yeah.
take one of those pitch pines out around that pool mechanics and give back a
A
cedar
pitch pine,
somewhere.
oh, a cedar, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
the same as we were talking about before, for the removal of the trees. Find a place for cedars instead, which are, offer great nesting habitat, are really good trees. And those cedars, those pitch pines are prone to the pine borer anyway, and so it's good for us to start thinking about a plan to replace them.
Yeah, red cedars are fine, they're probably better than pitch pines in terms of impact on the swimming pool.
Yeah, right,
So-
the needles.
So that's fine. You want us to put them back as close to whatever gets damaged as possible?
I don't think so. Like, for me, I think you should get closer to the resource that we're protecting.
Yep.
So, the birds like to hop around in those. I would put them closer to the salt marsh, as close to the salt marsh as you could. So,
I'm sorry, real quick.
yes,
Red or white cedar?
red
Red.
cedar.
Red cedar? Okay.
Red cedar. Can we condition it with the inclusion of 3 red cedars and the removal of 3 pitch pine?
You wanted 1 for 1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1 to 1.
Yeah.
And what heights do we normally do? Do you know, Mar?
Probably 4 or 5 feet.
Sounds
We
good.
do much bigger than that, they generally
Yeah.
don't survive very well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
5 feet high in height?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what the DVH would be, roughly?
It's bald and burlap, so it's
Yeah.
a separate type of.
Oh, okay, all right.
Backwashing pit for the cartridge cleaning or anything, are we concerned about any of that? Are we good? Asking the team. Good?
We, this is salt water.
It's
pool,
very
right?
little. I
So
mean,
do we have have we
they-
done one of these yet?
they're gonna, yeah, we do them all the time.
Well, we do the chlorine one, so we have like all that. I don't remember if we had any conditions set up for something.
Saltwater, I think what we started to think about is our conditions would be that if any water needed to be removed from the pool, that it would be trucked away as a condition.
Yeah, and I think that was for both, 100%.
Yeah.
For chlorine and for salt.
Yeah. What do you think?
Based on our previous experience with the board over the pools, that was what we assumed would happen.
Yeah. So that would be a general condition.
Otherwise, I think you're our new pool girl, Arlene. You can
Oh, I
always
hope not. Nothing personal. I had nightmares over this. I wasn't ever gonna take another pool.
They're just finding you. They're finding you.
All right, so
So for conditions, any pitch pine removed, replaced with red cedar 4 to 5 feet high, and then any water removed gets, trucked away and disposed of properly off-site?
Yep.
Okay.
we have a limit of work. Is that gonna include any type of erosion control? Because we are going.
Yeah, I think we said straw wattles with
Straw,
with
sod,
plastic
yeah.
fencing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and The way it's done here is one or the other. Typically, you can do the straw wattle or hay bale or entrenched silt fence. Both is great, as well as long as it's entrenched and the wattle is cradled.
For this one, I think we're relatively close to the hole they're gonna dig.
Yeah.
We should have both.
No, it's just with digging pools, you never know if it's gonna rain, and
Yeah.
it always does.
Yeah, do you have
So-
an idea of where that fill was gonna
The wattle
go?
takes care of the erosion, but the fence takes care of the visibility for the.
We definitely condition no fill coming from the pool will go on the site, correct? Yeah,
It's gonna be trucked off.
Yeah, we're not filling anything. So then I would also we would just add a condition when they're coming in and out off of the driveway onto Marsh View, with trucks, because trucks are gonna pull out back loaded and then come out. That dirt that comes up and down that street will be maintained by the contractor and very clean, because that's just gonna, you don't really have catch basins, so that just goes right off each side of the road when it rains. That would be, that'd be a big one.
No, I think it's fine. I think we already conditioned that. I think it's a fair 1-to-1 ratio, but it might be something that the commission takes into consideration, that in the future, to limit the removal of trees, to maybe increase the amount of trees, that rather than a 1-to-1 ratio, either 2-to-1 ratio, so that when they're in the design phase, they can work around that. So say they're like, hey, we don't want to remove these trees. Just other towns kind of do that. And although we want to be amenable, a 4 to 5 foot tree is not as good environmentally as a full grown pitch pine, even though they are subject to turpentine beetle. Might just be something to look at in the future.
Is there a standard for us, like in the 0 to 50, is it or?
Does it increase?
Right, because.
I think minimum's gonna always be 1-to-1 for us, so I think we can condition if we want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I conditioned it for more.
Right.
Like beach grass is like 3 per hole or 5 per hole, depending on where. I've conditioned like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 replacement. I don't think I've done anything more than 3.
Especially with a tree, that'll get expensive.
Do you want me to, originally I was just going to say any pitch removed, replaced with cedar. Do you want me to limit that to 3? Pitch removal?
I think we should limit the
I think
removal to
2.
3.
Was it 2 or 3?
2 removal, because
2?
one's in the corner right here where the
Yeah.
apron's gonna end, right? And he wanted to get rid of that, and then we can kind of see that if he just ran, even if he did 22s all the way up to that mechanical, it's just gonna be like just not advantageous at all for the plumbing part. So he's gonna rip right through that tree that's in front of the pool mechanical pad right there.
Yeah.
And what is that pad being made out of?
It'll be pressed concrete.
Okay. Yeah.
What is the pool, by the way? Is it a liner pool or a gunite pool?
The
Showed a
specs
picture.
are in the NOI.
It looked,
Maybe steel
it was a
wall, right?
liner, it was a liner type, right? Yeah,
Yeah, that's a steel wall, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so 2 pitch for 2 cedar.
2 to 2 is what we're doing then. 2 to 2. 2 trees removed, 2 cedars
back.
replaced. I like your woody plant material
Thank
that
you.
you're proposing to put back. The Phragmites might fight it out, but
Hope not.
we'll see.
Yeah. maybe we do. All right, we don't need to continue, we have every condition that we can.
Yeah, I can condition all of that. So we've got the trees, water removal, erosion control, and then fill removal. Does that cover everything? Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions from the commission? Anyone want to do a motion?
Motion to approve DEP file number SE66-2048, Eileen O'Connor, care of AM Wilson Associates, Inc., 34 Marshview Circle, Sandwich, Mass. 02537, with standard and special conditions as discussed.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to continued filings. RDA file number SCC 2025D03 Lakewood Farms Trust, care of Cape and Islands Engineering. Request for determination of applicability for proposed deck replacement. They're continuing to the 16th Jenna, could you please request a continuance for the next hearing on April 16th? Thank you, Chuck of Cape and Islands Engineering. I should have made that a motion. I can make a motion to continue RDA file number SCC 2025D/03 Lakewood Farms Trust care of Cape and Islands Engineering to the April 16th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Cool. And then the COCs, how are those looking?
Let me see. So for 11 North Pines Drive, there's a house there now. It has been built. Groundwork and revegetation all appears to be stabilized. I believe Josh, my predecessor, did a site visit. And in that COC request, they also included the letter he wrote saying that the vegetation was stabilized and looked good. That order of conditions was issued to place a pretty large amount of fill on the site. So everything looks fine to me. I had no problem recommending a complete COC for them. And then 51R Freeman, I believe was the other one. That was for replacement of a core envelope array with dune grass plantings, which have since been somewhat compromised by the sand nourishment project by the Army Corps. But you can see where they were. There's still evidence of beach grass there. They did have an unpermitted fire pit on site, but they've since removed that. It was just placed on the beach. It wasn't like hardener or anything like that, so that got taken out. I did a quick site visit to make sure. So that one was another one that I was fine with after that conversation with their representation. For a complete COC, I think that was all we had for those.
I'd like to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number SC66-1905 Daniel Marster and Pleasantwood Homes LLC, care of Sebacia Inc. Filed a notice of intent for proposed raised land elevation at 11 North Pines Drive, Sandwich, Mass, located at map 60, lot 58.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number SE66-1994 Mark Blanchard, care of Environmental Consultings and Restoration LLC. Filed a notice of intent for replacement of a core envelope array at 51R Freeman Ave, Sandwich, Mass, located at map 94, parcel 91.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Other business, duplicate order of conditions for 61 and 61A.
So when the order of conditions was issued, the applicant did not get it recorded. We then issued a certificate of compliance. And when they went to record that, there was no order of conditions to reference it back on. So those orders of conditions, I think, were pretty old, so they didn't have the originals anymore, obviously. So issuing a duplicate will help rectify that issue.
We don't need to make a motion for that, do we?
It's something under other business, so I don't think so. I think it's just issuing a duplicate because
And
it's
that's-
already been voted on back in
Perfect.
wherever that.
So
whenever
those
it
two
was.
are together.
Yeah,
1987 or something?
yeah. Just a little bit ago.
Oh, that's the way page Aaron too.
And then we saw that the Sandwich Fire Department lied when they said rain and shine.
They did?
They tried. But it-
He said rain or shine, we're doing it.
There
He
was
sat
fire.
there and said it.
There was fire. I can confirm
Oh, yes, Jeremy took.
it was excellent. I took lots of pictures.
So they're moving it to what, before anytime before the 15th or the 16th, I
Yes.
believe? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
we're gonna
totally
put that
fine.
right down.
Just agree with that.
Yeah, before the 15th.
And then
On the last
we
rainy
have,
day.
We have something to sign.
Yes, and
Do I have to make a motion for this?
you have to make a motion to rescind any outstanding enforcement orders as referenced in the agreement.
Okay.
That's part of the agreement.
I'll pass this along, so.
Do we have numbers for those, or do we kind of just do a blanket all?
You're on here.
I believe the numbers are referenced in the agreement.
Okay.
I don't have the specific numbers, but they're just the ones that are relevant to the agreement, from what I understand.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to rescind all restoration orders,
Enforcement orders.
enforcement orders dealing with idle
As referenced in the agreement.
as reference to the agreement that we're signing for Idlewild Acres LLC versus Sandwich Conservation Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
So I'm passing it around, so you guys should find your name on there.
Thank you.
What was that property that you just voted on? Oh, I know it, okay, thank you.
I was like, was it there?
It's just one signature, right?
Yes, on that one, yeah.
While we're doing that, the 319 minutes, what did everyone think of those? Good, review?
Yes.
Good to me.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for 3/19/2025 as written.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we'll wait for the, are we good with signatures after that? Do we have any more to do for that agreement? That was it?
That was it,
Well,
yeah.
Kimberly, well,
We didn't approve any.
Oh, she needs it, yeah, okay. All right, this could happen in July or June, 42 minutes.
I know, I thought this was gonna be a long meeting.
No. All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the April 2nd, 2025 Sandwich Conservation Commission meeting at 6:43 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.